Good evening. This side, Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. First of all, I would like to let you know that the world is passing from the stage of recession. It is highly unfortunate that many central banks of the globe are still declining that there is no recession. But evidences are quite clear that forget recession, we are in depression. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to recession or depression or severe depression, then one industry which would be facing the heat is definitely the industry of investment banking. Because investment banking is an industry which is completely depend on boom. And when they get the business, when either of the things happen. Example, initial public offers, which means the fresh issuances. Follow-on public offer means the existing companies are issuing the fresh money. Example, bonds, commercial paper, private placement, merger and acquisition, especially large ticket merger and acquisitions. By large ticket merger and acquisitions, I mean they are of big value. 10 billion, 20 billion, maybe more than that. They are of big value. Ladies and gentlemen, we also need to understand one fact that investment banking is amongst the most complicated business model in the world. The reason being the level of skill which is required to handle a transaction, and especially when this transaction is a big ticket transaction, is very, very tough. Without quoting any specific name, there are many high value merger and acquisitions who are announced in 2022, 23, maybe going forward also. But having said that, few of them are blocked because of something known as antitrust regulation. Like I said to many people, that in the world of investment banking, the most valuable resource is somebody who determines the term sheet. Now, let me give you a very simplistic example. Kindly note that this is a simplistic example, only to make video lively. It has nothing to do with the practical deal. Practical deal in the sense, like I'm just quoting an example. Assuming today Apple wanted to buy a very big chip making company in Taiwan, assuming, and Apple feel that the valuation they're supposed to pay is $40 billion, assuming, and they think that the right person who can make this happen is the Goldman Sachs, because they believe that Goldman Sachs holding the competency of executing high value or high ticket merger and acquisition. In this eventuality, two people who would be playing a key role would definitely be the person who would determine the term sheet. Since we assuming that the deal size is 40 billion, henceforth the term sheet won't be easy. Because here there are many permutations and combinations. It may possible out of 40 billion, Apple will say, I will invest 4, rest I'll borrow 36. It may possible Apple will say, I invest 10, rest I borrow 30. I invest 20, say 50%, and rest 20 I borrow. It may possible Apple will say, I will invest 30 and rest 10 I borrow, or I will invest complete 40. The situation becomes more complicated when it's a stock buyout, which means rather than paying in cash, Apple will say that I am issuing the shares of my company in favor of your company. And the problem becomes highest complicated when both are listed companies. Apple is a listed company in United States, assuming that Taiwan company, whatever XYZ chip company, is also a listed company in Taiwan. Now, Apple is traded across the globe. but Taiwan company is only traded in Taiwan exchanges. In this eventuality, the determination of the term sheet by Goldman Sachs, who is acting as an investment banker, is going to be a very complicated but interesting exercise. I hope you heard about a word called earnout. Earnout means a kind of contingent liability. But having said that, earnouts are generally used in merger and acquisitions. There was a time when companies used to pay even for those products which are yet to hit the market. But today, the companies are paying only for the products which are there in the market and they are running successful. So let's complicate our example that Apple wanted to buy a chip making company in Taiwan and whatever XYZ name, and that chip making company is saying to Apple that, dear Apple, there are five kind of chips which we are designing, and once these chips would be ready, the processor would be 40 times faster than what it is today. In this eventuality, Apple may agree or might not agree. If Apple is in agreement of the merits in law means the facts which they are putting, Apple will love to pay. But if Apple disagree, but at the same time Apple agrees that it may possible these chips perform, in this eventuality Apple go ahead with something which is known as earnout. Now, earnout means if this relevant chip, as and when, so you have to first specify that, I would say that you will launching this chip in another 6 months or 8 months or whatever time. And Apple will say to that chip making company that once this chip would be in public, and assuming because of this, whatever electronic item which we are producing, and the sale will increase because of the fresh chip which we are putting inside, which is currently under designing. That way, we would be paying you 1 billion more, which we are not paying you today. In this eventuality, this is technically known as earnout. But there are various models of earnout which we are having. I learned earnout in 2008. I'm not saying that in 2008 there were no earnout deals. There were earnout deals, but having said that, in the last many years, I saw myself that the earnout is more or less becomes a mandatory provision as far as the merger and acquisition are concerned. It is said that investment banking is purely dependent on equity deals. But I tend to believe that investment banking is dependent on the knowledge level of the investment bank. I strongly feel that if that investment bank is a competent person, his team is competent person, and they able to take various asset classes in the game. Example, in equity himself, there is a thing called equity link notes, equity link debentures, equity link different instruments. The competency of the investment banker is very, very vital, and especially when we are having depression in politically speaking recession. The reason behind that is that when you are in depression, in this eventuality, the IPO market is more or less dried. Because why IPO is dried? Because people raise the money when, you know, people raise the money when they see that they can invest that money somewhere. Maybe some factory, plant, or maybe expansion, capex, tick, 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 various other things. But when there is a recession, people are turning reluctant. They tend to feel that now we're not been able to make money out of this. It is very much vital in this eventuality to understand that initial public offer market boom during the good days, but it went down during the bad days. Another interesting thing which I would like to highlight here when it comes to the investment banking is that the competence of the foreign investment bank. Indian newspaper, there is a data published about the top 10 investment bank by fees in 2023. January to September, and the figures are quoted in dollar million. Citibank 58.6, number one, followed by ICICI Bank 56.6, number three, Axis Bank 56.4, number four, Goldman Sachs 54.4, number five, State Bank of India 46.5, number six, HSBC, which is 38.1, number seven, JP Morgan 37.6, number eight, Morgan Stanley around 33.1, number 9, JM Financial 31.1, followed by last, which is Jeffries LLC 25.1. In totality, it is 967 million in the first 9 months, which means by the time October, November, December go, the figure would be tentatively more than $1 billion, roughly more than $1 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, a very important thing which we need to learn in the world of investment banking is called syndication. Now, syndication means that when more than one counterparty, in some cases it is 10 also, they are syndicating a common underwriting. Underwriting is a very dangerous word because when we speak about underwriting in this eventuality, we are speaking about gross underwriting or soft underwriting or hard underwriting. Soft underwriting is also known as best effort basis underwriting, while hard underwriting means you are giving in writing. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to learn that in terms of hard underwriting and you wanted to make a profit out of it, in this eventuality, the competence of the investment banks comes into the picture. Because in hard underwriting, if investors are not buying that relevant security, the investment bank himself buying that relevant security. Sometimes there are cross trades. What is cross trade means that XYZ investment bank decides to act as a partner when it comes to the FPO of a relevant company. And assuming that relevant company is doing FPO, means follow-on public offer to the tune of $5 billion, assuming. And XYZ Bank is getting, out of $5 billion, he's getting $200 million as a fees to arrange all these things. And I'm assuming that the company XYZ, which is raising that money, this company credentials is little weak. The balance sheet is little weak, that I'm assuming. In this eventuality, the thought process is very clear because the investment bank would be doing the net underwriting, which means the hard underwriting. In this eventuality, that investment bank, even before creating a book, they would be doing the equity derivatives and taking that equity derivative in their own books. Many people tend to believe that equity derivative is a very small thing. There is nothing much to learn in that. But ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to equity derivative, then it is one of the finest world in the investment banking. One of the finest world in the world of investment banking. To conclude, those who wish to be in the world of investment banking, competence is definitely a very important thing. There is no doubt about that. And more importantly, sometimes you're supposed to compete with the best brands in the world of investment banking. Because remember that the investment banking, the term sheet, the deal architecture, the valuation issues, the company laws of that XYZ country, they all differ. Henceforth, investment banking is a very complicated world on case-to-case basis. That's what something which we really wish to understand. More importantly, when we are having complicated instrument like FCCB, foreign currency convertible bonds, like foreign currency non-convertible bonds, like redeemable preference shares, redeemable convertible preference shares, redeemable non-convertible preference shares. In this eventuality, the investment banking is definitely a tactful exercise. But that again depends on the kitty of that investment bank. How big is the kitty? That's what I can say. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. You have my number +91 9899 Thank you. You can join our WhatsApp group, which is absolutely free, but here we provide learnings and learnings.